Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and you know what? It's been a while since we've talked about a brand new Skaven modded faction, possibly around 2 weeks, but that's too long. So the Skaven Clans mod just got updated fairly recently, and one of the brand new factions is a faction from Warhammer 2, finally making its way to Warhammer 3, Clan SKURVY, with your legendary lord Skretch Half Dead. So if you're looking for a Undead Vampire Coast Skaven campaign, this is definitely going to be the one for you with its own unique style. Before anything, let's talk about the faction effects. So, Pirates of the Sea. Skretch Half Dead fights, recruits, and lives at sea, rather than on land. He cannot capture cities, instead trading them to the Dreadfleet and the Great Skaven Clans. Legendary ships. If Skretch Half Dead hunts down and kills special enemy ships, he receives extra bonuses. Diplomatic relations plus 60 with the Dreadfleet faction-wide. Expand the Dreadfleet. Extra ships in the navy of the clan SKURVY can be purchased with food, although they must be built on land before setting sail. Income from raiding plus 100% for all armies, and finally income from sacking settlements plus 100%. When we go into the Lord effects, we have the following. Range plus 15% for Warplock Jezzails and Warp Lightning Cannon units for Lord's Army. Upkeep minus 30% for Skaven Weapon Team units in Lord's Army, and passive ability Hawkish Precision for Clan SKURVY units in Lord's Army. Alright, so we talked about quite a lot here. Let's jump into the campaign. So your campaign begins in the ocean. You're going to be playing a very different style campaign to most of the Vampire Coast factions. Obviously you are a Skaven after all, and you're going to be smack in the middle between Ulthuan and Naggaroth. You've got the option to go up north, go down south, wherever you want to go, to be honest. And I think it's going to lead for a very interesting campaign, that's for sure. This isn't your conventional Skaven campaign, so it's nice to see a little bit of, creative control when creating these types of mods. Remember, Warhammer 2 Clan SKURVY was basically just another land faction, but things do change here. There's a bunch of new units. We're not going to go over all of them, and this is because, as you can imagine, this mod has a stupid amount of units, like so much. This is the main Skaven mod. There are just like units for loads of different factions, but we will talk about some of those units a little bit later on, so don't worry about that. Skretch himself, as he's a legendary lord, has his own unique skill line, which is going to focus around kind of like a gunnery wight, but obviously a Skaven, so he's going to boost up quite a lot of your range units and also give you some explosions and other active effects. Overall, if you're going to want a Skaven range faction, but don't want to play with Scryer for no reason, this is definitely a different one there. You'll also get Stalk whilst in sea, which is actually quite interesting. Overall, this character has quite a lot going for it. There is a mount also. I do believe it's a Leviathan, so you can kind of deal with quite a lot of damage there. Obviously, Skaven characters are usually quite squishy sometimes, but yeah. The other stuff is going to be focused around the usual, boosting up your troops, getting some bonuses up there, and also getting some administration stuff. The red and blue skill lines, very, very standard, but work as intended. But that's not all. There is another mechanic there known as legendary kills. So essentially with this, go hunt down legendary lords that have a nautical theme or a wandering theme like Wulfric the Wanderer and get yourself some bonuses. You can keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. It's a pretty cool system. Obviously it's taken from the Ogre Kingdoms, but it definitely gives you a lot more direction for your campaign, which I think a lot of people are going to quite like. Basic stuff like this really adds a lot of flavor. And naturally, since this character does fall under the Vampire Coast in one way, shape or form due to his connection and his creation in Dreadfleet, yep, he's got a ship. You'll be able to move around and have a capital city that's always moving, and as you can tell, there are a few new units. They're all basically... It starts off as like clan rats, but then SKURVY clan rats and so on. Some of them have some range weapons too, keep that in mind. Storm Vermin with the handguns are really, really cool. There's a bunch of new heroes, and you will have access to the bats, the rotting leviathans also. Always nice to have some big monsters here, because your roster is going to be a little bit smaller than most, but it kind of fits with this styling. Your tech tree is also rather unchanged. There is a new addition though, 9 new techs, which is going to focus around allowing you to be a better pirate, essentially. A little bit of movement, some casualty replenishment, all the usual stuff. It does cost treasury. However, if you work on this, you'll be able to get pretty accurate troops shooting down enemy armies with no problem. So think about this in a very similar sense to, well, Clan Scryer, but pirate themed. And everyone likes pirates, right? So with this campaign, you won't be building up an empire. You'll start off get into shoreline, start getting into combat. There's a lot of races that you can fight off against, and keep in mind, you don't have to fight here, you could move anywhere else, but there are pirate factions that could cause you a problem, so yeah, maybe don't risk it too far. But yeah, go attack a settlement, do the usual thing, hopefully you don't get stuck with a lot of elves, and then you'll have the option to just set up a undercity, or sack the settlement. Afterwards, yeah, you can't take the settlement. You'll be giving it to either the Dreadfleet or one of the Skaven clans. The idea here is you're going to be supporting other factions whilst doing your own thing. A true pirate experience. It's kind of interesting to say the least. It does mean that you're kind of stuck with the idea of not forming a massive empire. Some people might not like that. I think that if you're looking for something fresh and original, that's something that brings in a fresh new perspective for the Skaven. And yeah, you can start recruiting after that because you can go into a camp stance. You'll want to set up some new armies though, so let's talk about that. So you'll be forming new armies by generating food and then using that food. A brand new army will instantly spawn with a Pirate Commodore Lord, and it does appear with some units there, so you're not starting off with a character with nothing. And then you can use global recruitment, which I've been told by Stratovarius, the modder who is working on SKURVY, that he's going to buff up global recruitment a little bit for this faction specifically in a patch that will come out shortly. But yeah, the Pirate Commodore itself is a range lord. He's got the warp musket and everything. Looks pretty damn cool. And he's going to be very similar in terms of skills to that of a gunnery wight. So he's going to be focusing again on some range units, some artillery, all the usual stuff that you can expect from a pirate-based faction. They don't have access to ships. It's only for like the main character and so on. These guys will act as your support with your main thing going around with one army, but you can easily have multiple armies without too much of a problem. But it all depends on your playstyle here. This is for a lot of role players. If you miss Dreadfleet, you remember that like one-shot campaign that was a pretty expensive box back in the day, and it's even worse now on eBay. So yeah, it's just getting Skretch and having a bunch of Undead Skaven coming in. You're also supported by a bunch of heroes also, like the SKURVY Sniper, which is going to be your sniper assassin type character. Again, he's got access to some range. I think most of them have access to range. He's got a few fun abilities and he got some buffs there to kind of benefit your ranged troopers too. This is going to be one of the heroes that you're going to be using a lot. Actually, I think you're going to be using all three heroes, to be honest, because they're all fairly decent. The loadout I've been using is Skretch, a small hero squad, and then just pretty much every gun possible. The enemies will get close, but they will feel a lot of damage, that's for sure. Your next one are the Gunnery Warlocks, which are very similar to Gunnery Wights once again. You've got Restock, Ruinous Munitions, Blast Protection. The idea here is, yeah, you want some buffers. These guys will be there, because if you're going to be focusing on just a lot of pirate range, you're going to want something that can restock. And believe me, once you start using those Storm Vermin with the freaking guns, the warp muskets, yeah, you're going to want to have a few restocks available, because they do a lot of damage. It's actually kind of funny. We'll have a clip of that in just a little bit anyway. But, yeah. Cool hero. This is the second one. There is a third, and the third one is the Tide Squeaker, which is an adorable name. I mean, it's Skaven stuff, right? So this is just basically your spellcaster, which gives you the Lore of the Deeps, because I think everyone's embedded into their brain that if they're going to be playing Skaven, they're going to want some magic in one way, shape, or form. It's a weird thing, because obviously it's not the usual stuff that we're used to, the Lore of Plagues and the Lore of Ruin, but if you've played with this massive, and I mean absolutely massive Skaven mod before, you'll know that there's a bunch of different laws of magic that you can get your hands on. I like it. It's nice to see this lore of magic getting used a little bit more, seeing as it's kind of wasted on just the Vampire Coast. Here's hoping that we might see a new version of the Lore of the Deeps, or maybe just all of the Lore of the Deeps, with maybe one or two changes with Aisling in the future, but let's not jump into speculation here. There is also a skill which will allow you to reduce the upkeep for certain monsters, like the big monsters like the Leviathan and the Prometheans, just in case you want those in your army. It's always nice to have a big beastie. So this is a faction of ranged Undead Skaven, and it can be kind of fun. This is the starting army with just some additions as I was just going into fight in the Dark Elves. I gotta say, the pirate hats on all the Skaven is just absolutely adorable. I think it's a big reason why you should play the mod. It's just really, really cute. I know it's Skaven and they shouldn't be cute, but who the hell cares? It actually takes a lot of inspiration from the little artwork that we do have of Clan SKURVY, the peg-leg Skaven with the little rats dressed up like a parrot, which is awesome. But yeah, I mean, it's a really fun faction. It's definitely one of those more unique style of play, and it's nice to see that this mod, right, there's so many playable Skaven clans, and many of them are so varied that it just adds a lot of reason to keep coming back to it. I honestly rate this as one of my top mods for Warhammer 3. It just keeps getting better and better, and I have spoken to Stratovarius, who apparently isn't done yet, which is wild. There's so many clans to come. The link to this mod can be found in the description below. If you don't already have it, you should already have it, because, again, top tier mod. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you all again very, very soon. I'm a little bit earlier this time with the videos. Next one should be a little bit faster. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things, but I'm sorting a lot of stuff in the background. Believe me, I am exhausted, to say the least. But, hey, you know, it's a new year, it's a new me. Now it's time to go back to the gym and actually keep to my freaking promise. So I'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one.